If you know baseball, or if you've grew up in New York and have followed the Yankees and the Mets, or of course the Phillies, or whatever, you know the name Dallas Green because he managed the Phils and the Yankees and the Mets, and he also, of course, took the Phils to the World Series in 1980, and he is currently senior advisor to the general manager of the Phillies and the author of a great new book, The Mouth That Roared. It's my Six Outspoken Decades in Baseball by Dallas Green. Hey, Dallas, how are you, sir?
Fine, Steve. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. First, let me start by asking about today's suspensions by Major League Baseball. And even though one of your players are affected, I'll get to that in a second. Let's start with, of course, the marquee name in the news today, and that's ARod. 211 games, and your reaction to that?
Well, you know, this thing has boiled over, obviously, and should. I just attended Alumni Weekend with the Phillies, and Jim Bunning and Dalton and a lot of the guys were there. We talked about this, obviously, and to a man, they're really upset that they all played the game clean and the way it was supposed to be played, and this guy is now proven to have taken extra help, and there's no way in the world that the players are going to forgive him in my mind. I mean, he's hurt baseball, he's hurt his teammates, he's hurt the organization that has paid him for a long time, and I really have no compassion for him at all, really.
And do you believe that history, baseball history, Hall of Fame, record books, etc., will also be unforgiving?
It will not be forgiven.
Okay.
Most of the Hall of Famers that I talked to in the past, they're not going to let those kind of guys get in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, now your player, Antonio Bastardo, a reliever for the Phillies, also affected, along with various other players in the minors. I think there were a total of 12 in addition to ARod today. They got 50-game suspensions. Do you think that's also just?
Well, obviously, you have to live up to the contract that was negotiated between Major League Baseball and the union. Union being very strong, obviously, but it looks like we're at least on somewhat friendly terms, and in them agreeing to even have an interest in a program. Bastardo kind of caught us, I would say,
off guard a little bit.
Off guard, yeah. Because we had no inkling that he was even under consideration. To the best of my knowledge. Now, I'm not the general manager, and I'm not that involved with the front office stuff. But if he has been caught, he needs to pay the penalty.
All right, fair enough. And one more: the commissioner could have really, he could have invoked the best interest of baseball clause, as has been invoked in the past, and this way ARod would not have been able to appeal with an arbitrator or play while his appeal was ongoing. Not only is he going to be able to appeal and said he would, but the suspension for some cockamamie reason, Dallas, doesn't even start till Thursday. So he'll be in the Yankee lineup tonight. Doesn't that make it all the more of a circus?
Well, it certainly does. Personally, if I were managing, he wouldn't play for me. I mean, the ruling is that he can be on the team. There's no ruling says he has to play. Interesting.
And you would not play him even though he was appealing?
Oh, no. He's murdered that team. I mean, if there's they need him desperately, or needed him desperately, and he's let them down. He's let them down in a key pennant race time that is going to probably impact the entire organization.
Yeah, and
I believe that he had the choice one way or another, and I think also that he has lied an awful lot, just like Braun did, to what was going on. But I'm not privy to that. But I will say this, that they've done enough investigating that Major League Baseball feels they're on the right track. It puts Joe Girardi and it puts the Yankees in very difficult position tonight, and I'm anxious to see what Joe's going to say.
Yeah, last I had heard from Joe was that he had him penciled in after yesterday's game, pending what would happen today. We're talking to Dallas Green, former Major League manager, now a general manager assistant to the Philadelphia Phillies, and the author, most importantly, of The Mouth That Roared, My Six Outspoken Decades in Baseball. And I want to talk about something that maybe we're working backwards here. I had the pleasure of knowing you and covering you when I was at WABC Radio, and you were with the Yankees for that tenure.
Right.
But of course, what most people do know, but some might not know, and it's addressed in the book certainly, is the horrific, tragic death of your granddaughter, Christina Taylor Green, 9 years old. She was killed in the Gabby Gifford shooting in Arizona. She was a brilliant young little girl, and I certainly didn't know her, but her interest in politics at 9 years old led her to hear the Congresswoman, to attend that Congresswoman Gabby Gifford's scheduled chat, and unfortunately led to her being shot. And I know that had profound, obvious effects on you, and put baseball in a whole different light. It's now used much differently by you since the shooting, correct?
Yeah, no question. I mean, our entire family was rocked to the tilt, and but my wife and I have always tried to make our kids understand that when adversity happens, obviously adversity in any form, the family's still what holds together and what get you through that adversity. And I was very lucky, obviously, to a degree. I could sink myself into baseball. My son John is a scout for the Dodgers, and he could do the same. But Roxana, the mother, and the rest of our family really had a rough time with it. And there are times even now that we tear up with the best of them, and when we think about her, and we miss her terribly.
Yeah, I'm sure, and may she rest in peace, and just an unimaginable loss. And let me ask you though, the mouth that roared. I guess, I mean, is that how you think most people will remember Dallas Green as manager Dallas Green, whether it was with the Phils, with the Yanks, with the Mets, someone who always said what he felt, and sometimes maybe in the case of with Steinbrenner, maybe it would get Dallas Green in trouble.
Yeah, I was very good at that. But that's been my personality. I believe in telling the truth, and I believe in when the media asks me a question, I always tried to tell the truth. And obviously in baseball, there's times when players, whoever we're talking about, sometimes get hurt. They don't appreciate negativity, and they don't appreciate negative talk about their performance, and I was always one that was very open, or tried to be very open about that performance, because I felt there was a certain way to play the game, and when we don't play the game right, somebody has to remind them that they're not running the asylum, that the manager and general manager run the asylum.
Well, Dallas, you mentioned the players that you were with at the alumni. They're angry because they played the game without enhancements and all that kind of stuff. And when I look at those, classic games, even from the 80s, the 70s, I mean, especially the 70s, they're all skinny. They're all skinny and skin-tight uniforms. So let me ask you this: compare the team that you took to the World Championship in 1980 with the Phils, and I don't know, compare it to some of the teams we've seen in the last 10, 15 years. Are the teams now so much better because they're so much bigger and bulkier, or how do they compare, do you think?
Well, obviously technology has come a long way. I mean, we for instance, when I played, we didn't even know we had a rotator cuff, and now now obviously everybody can't wait to get on the disabled list and get operated on. So it has changed. There's no question about that, and obviously with that comes new training, new facilities for that training. Strength and conditioning has changed considerably. Robin Roberts and I talked all the time. The two things he did was run and throw, and today you can hardly get a pitcher to throw in between starts, and you can hardly get a guy to run 10 sprints anymore. So, and there's always exceptions to the rule, but
right.
I think for the most part, the pitch count and everything else has come into play, and it's sad to see that kind of stuff come into the game, but it goes back to the same thing. You're an individual. You have control of at least your conditioning and whether you're going to try to make something better of yourself by doing it chemically, or whether you're going to lift weights to the point where it obstructs your performance. You have so many things going now, and of course the same old thing. The money has gotten to the point where agents and everybody else is involved in almost all the decision-making processes. And it's just not the players, so it's a tough deal.
I bet you and me are probably the two. I'm going to assume you agree with me. I could be wrong. Are two of the people who just won't give in. I hate the instant replay. I hate when they stop the game in all the sports, but especially in baseball. It just doesn't seem to fit in baseball. To me, if an umpire makes a mistake, all right, they make a mistake. Just go on. It's a human game.
Well, there's two sides of that.
I know.
I tend to agree with you on 162 games. But when you work so hard and win the right to go to the playoffs and World Series are the ultimate for any organization, obviously. And the umpires obviously are human beings, and they do make mistakes. I think replays could come into play in the playoffs and World Series. They still do the home run thing, and that's about all that's allowed now.
Right.
But not long ago there was a fair foul ball that changed the complex of the game and changed the outcome of the game. There's a lot of things that happen in playoffs and World Series that really need to be made right.
Yeah, no. And Dallas, your book is full of all the anecdotes and everything that made you such a great success, made you so controversial, got you in so much trouble, and of course, as I mentioned, your beloved granddaughter discussed in there as well. So it's a great read. It's an education and it's entertaining. The Mouth That Roared, My Six Outspoken Decades in Baseball by the great manager Dallas Green. Thank you. I really enjoyed chatting with you, Dallas.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take care. Dallas Green.